Welcome to Metaphysical Life Support, a place to learn about the subtle and profound effects of metaphysics in our lives. This show is about exploration tools and the people who live in awareness, supporting and inspiring us all to live with and from our source, empowering ourselves to manifest consciously, and encouraging us to have compassion with a sense of humor about being human. Our guest today is my dear friend Rosie Potestio. We're continuing our conversation, and I promised that we were going to turn to her work as a spiritual director. What is a spiritual director?
A spiritual director is a counselor who can use the word God. What a concept. And that was what drew me to it. But really what drew me to it was God, Spirit. After my son had graduated from high school and empty nest syndrome, and I was getting ready to retire from my business, and things were changing in my life, I started asking God, well, what am I supposed to be doing? I know I'm supposed to be doing something. What am I supposed to be doing? And I asked the question. I asked this question for 2 years. 2 years. And then one day I was listening to a friend who was also a minister and a spiritual director, and she was talking about prayer styles. Ah, there's a topic. Prayer styles. And she said, blah, 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 spiritual director, blah, blah, blah. And when she said those two words, spiritual director, I got chills up and down my arms, and my heart, literally, my heart started beating fast. Wow. And I said, I do not know what this is, but I'm supposed to be doing it. And then as I started exploring the world of spiritual direction, I realized that for the past 2 years, I had heard that term other times, other places.
Okay, so spiritual director, when you were studying this was the first time I'd actually heard of it. I've been a coach for 30 years. And you said, I'm going to go be a spiritual director. And I was like, you already are. So, but there's a whole training program.
Yes.
And so if somebody's looking for a spiritual director, what are some of the things they would look for? I know they could come to you. Mm-hmm. And I know you're available. You have a Facebook page that is about your spiritual direction that people can reach out to you.
Right.
So why would I go to a spiritual director?
You go to a spiritual director when many reasons. One of the big ones is I used to be able to talk to God and to hear God, and I haven't been able to hear God at all, and I don't know what to do.
Wait a minute. You're saying people have that experience?
Yes.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody's having a crisis in faith?
A crisis in faith.
Or if somebody's having a crisis in faith or a grief and things like that may be related to a loss or...
Absolutely. So wanting to hear the voice of the divine, and it seems to be quiet. God doesn't talk to me anymore. I used to hear God. I used to have impressions of God. I used to feel God. And I just don't anymore. And I need help to break through that. So that's one reason. Another reason is I'm on a spiritual path. I'm on an acknowledged spiritual path to become more conscious. And I want someone to walk with me, to mentor me on this path, to maybe prod me a little bit.
To hold the lantern in the darkness.
To suggest to me, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Here's a book to read. Here's a meditation to do. Here again, jumpstart your path on the spiritual.
So, I mean, it's probably pretty obvious that we know each other pretty well. And you're one of the people who I would turn to or trust when I have a question or something that I need to work through. Because no matter how much you think you know, you can get caught up in your own head.
Yeah.
And, even when you look at a lot of the big spiritual teachers have spiritual teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a coach. I bring in spirituality. I bring in other aspects. You deal strictly or more directly with people's spiritual life.
Correct.
So I'll ask you a question, sometimes in a way that kind of helps me get out of my own head. Because we all get lost in what we think we believe in. And it's kind of like if you have a psychological issue and you go to a counselor,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like you're not walking in your own stuff.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that some of the other things people come to you for?
They come through grief, but very specific grief. They are on an acknowledged spiritual path. They know this about themselves. They know that they want to have a relationship with spirit. They know they're in grief. And okay, where do I go from here? I've tried forgiveness. I've tried gratitude. I've tried all those stupid, things, and I can't get anything to work. So just sitting down with a spiritual director for 3 sessions. This is not something that goes on for the rest of your life, because it gives you a jump start. Any spiritual director.
But it's not limited to 3.
Oh, no.
I'm going to say that I'm not sure that any spiritual director would handle a lot of people. I think that it's like a coach or a counselor. There's a certain amount of vetting that you want to do with that person to know that they can speak to your soul.
Correct. So you need to find one that you connect with. And when you find that one, it can be 3 sessions. It can be 2 sessions every year. It can be a session every month for 5 years. And any good spiritual director is going to meet you where you are and be with you as you need that. And then if you don't need it, you don't need it. There's no pull to keep you in a dependent mode.
So I know in your case, they can go to your website. Would people go to your church?
Wait a minute.
They go to your Facebook page.
Facebook page, right.
I said that wrong. Their Facebook page.
Yeah.
Because I know you.
Right.
Facebook. So, like if somebody wanted to find you, they'd go to your Facebook page. But if somebody wanted to find a spiritual director.
There's Spiritual Directors International, and you can go to their website. Or you could probably even go on to Facebook and, question spiritual direction. Ask at your church. If you have a church that you feel comfortable asking that question, can anybody recommend someone? Ask your friends, because spiritual direction, it gets hidden. It gets hidden, and people will go to a spiritual director, and you'll never know. But if you ask a question, hey, does anybody know a spiritual director? All of a sudden somebody knows somebody that's really great. This person's really helped me.
Yeah, sounds like the kind of person you want to have in your Rolodex or your phone contacts.
Yeah.
So we talked about gratitude in a previous segment.
Right.
I know that one of your tools that you personally have used, and you've kicked my butt on, is forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Would you share a little bit about how somebody might use forgiveness in a process to reconnect with the voice of God?
Well, the first thing to remember is what forgiveness is and what it is not. And I want to be really clear on this, so I wrote it down. May I read?
Please.
May I read my definition?
Yes.
Forgiveness, is the conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment, anger, or vengeance toward someone or something that has harmed you, regardless of whether they deserve it or not. It is not forgetting. It is not condoning. It is not excusing. You are choosing to let it go. Put it down.
You know, that is a profound way to look at forgiveness, because forgiveness is one of those words that I think is overused, kind of like the phrase, let it go. It isn't really understood.
No, it's not.
I was brought up that forgiveness came from punitive behavior. We are getting the flashy light from our lovely production person, Jen, right in the middle of this meaty topic. So I'm making the executive decision that our next segment, we are going to continue talking about forgiveness. And so I want to thank you, Rosie, for being here and joining us today. Remember to like, comment, and share so we can bring you more awesome people and metaphysical ideas for living well. I am Naomi Eklund. Thank you, our audience, for joining us on Metaphysical Life Support. Our purpose is to provide thoughtful and practical ways to explore the metaphysical reality of your life, to see where life starts in our most powerful journey toward manifesting the strengths of our soul on this earth.